And we are live. Oh my goodness. It is such a beautiful Thursday here in Louisville, Kentucky. I hope wherever you all are, it is beautiful or you're cozy, you're feeling good about yourself, you're feeling good about the people around you, and hopefully you're engaging in a great conversation like I'm about to do with Chisa. Welcome, Chisa. How are you doing today?
I am great. It is a beautiful day here in Colorado. Do you hear my child? He wants to
I
say
can.
hi to everybody.
Yes, come say
Okay, come over
hi.
here. Come say hi. Come on, hurry up.
Real
Oh my
live. This is
goodness.
the joys of going live. I already knew. Listen, we've had people cuss this week, so we can definitely have children on. Hey, man, how are
Hi.
you? What's his name?
Jackson.
Hey, Jackson. I'm Miss Blair. I'm old like that. I'm very traditional, but it is nice to see you. It's nice to
Gee.
see everyone out there. Hello, every beautiful body out there. If you're not familiar, my name is Blair G. Hervey. I'm the founder and CEO of The Corporate Strategist. Usually, I would be joined by my colorful co host, my bestie and soul friend of 20 plus years, D'Angelo Crane, but he is in the middle of preparing for a wonderful presentation. So, whenever y'all get a chance, make sure y'all send him some love and ask him if he wants to rehearse with you as well. But of course, we have a big welcome to everyone, of course, and of course to our guest, Chisa, as well. We're excited to have you. Welcome everyone to the Black Diva Collective LinkedIn live series. Now, D'Angelo usually starts our programming, if you will, with what we call the art of the check in. Kind of did it already, but he likes to make sure that we carve out time to be authentic and connect with our audience, our peers, our friends, our family, and just ask this simple question: how are you feeling today? So I'll pass that back to you, Chisa. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. We had a long night of travel, but I am excited to be here. We have a great topic to hit. I think it's something that we don't talk about often enough. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm blessed, that is for sure.
Excellent. She's feeling good, feeling great, feeling great. How are you to my Outcast fans? I am doing well as well. I'm feeling very, very good. Probably because I started my day with a workout. I've been eating my fruit today. I did eat some BS after my workout, but I feel like I've burned it off.
You
I'm
earned
feeling
it.
good. I earned it. Absolutely. So, for folks who are not familiar with Chisa, Chisa has 18 years of training and speaking, consulting with cops, military, and the corporate space as well. She's also the founder of Chisa Marie Consulting. So, again, welcome, welcome again. We could do all of our Googles and all of our LinkedIn stalking that we'd like to. And I'm sure there are still things we'll find out about you, or you could tell us more things that we could find out about you than what we could ever read. So, tell us a little bit about why you decided to move into this work and what brought this topic to our desk today?
Well, my background is actually gaming. I'm a Jersey girl, but I spent 13 years in Las Vegas and ran casinos in Las Vegas, which and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool!" But and it was like I loved it. I loved the leadership part of it. But then one day I was voluntold to go to a diversity class, and I was not happy about that. Um,
Hmm.
but that experience, my experience in that class really shifted my perspective of what diversity was. I heard the word diversity and I thought, great, white, black, that, stuff. But
Mhm.
it just took it to a whole nother level for me. And I think that was the beginning of my journey. That was in 2003. And then 2008, I decided to leave and make this my life
Come
for the
on.
past 18 years. Yeah. So I love it. Love it.
Listen, we were just saying this before the call. I mean, I've only been gone from corporate America since November, but every moment, every breath I take, every step I take, every moment when I just have my time to myself, I'm just like, thank you.
Yes.
I will thug it out. I will figure it out before
Yes.
I'm ready to go back. So good for you. But I'm glad that we have decided to dedicate our time and our life to this work as well and to help these corporations that we've chosen to lead
Yeah.
or leave. Now, for folks who are not familiar with this term, I'm sure we've heard it a lot, particularly since 2020. But the word ally comes from the Latin word alligar, meaning to bind to, like nations who are allies in wartime, right? So they will act together and protect one another. You can also use ally as a verb, meaning join forces with. Why do you believe it's really important that Black professionals, Black folks become their own allies?
I think particularly in the line of work that I do, we put a lot of emphasis on how to stand with others, how to um, acknowledge your own power and privilege and how you can use that to help others. I don't think we put enough emphasis on ourself. And if what's that saying? An empty well gives no water, right? I mean,
Hmm.
we can't help others until we are first right with ourselves. And I think we often neglect ourselves,
Yes.
and not really grasp the fact that we can't truly be our best self for others until we're right with us. And so, becoming our own ally is really step one, and then our
Mhm.
willingness to stand for others should be step two.
Mm. That's a word in itself. I mean, that's one of the reasons why D'Angelo and I came together and decided to create this space, right? I mean, it's all about creating space for Black professionals that do DEI work, whether it's being voluntold or volunteering or doing it full time. But for them to come, have a space, learn some stuff, share some stuff, but go back better than what they were. So I'm totally with you that we have to create some type of action in that allyship as well. When I was doing some when I was doing some quick Googles about more about allyship, I read that we view allyship as a strategic mechanism used by individuals to become collaborators, accomplices, and co-conspirators who fight injustice and promote equity in the workplace through supportive personal relationships and public acts of sponsorship and advocacy. Talk to me about maybe three ways. I love a good one, two, three. But talk to me about maybe your top three ways that we can do a better job of becoming our own allies and then, of course, being better allies to one another.
Yeah. I would say step one would really be, practicing self-awareness. I would word that in such a way of like really having the courage to look ourselves in the mirror.
Mhm.
I think it's easy for us to go into organizations and diagnose and give all this coaching and to other people. But the reality is the hardest person to be absolutely honest with is ourselves. Right?
Mhm.
So I think first, number one, we have to have the courage to look ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves, where can I be better? Where do I have to be a better mother? Where do I have to be a better father? Where do I have to be better, in my role and what it is that I do? And those are hard questions, but that's where it really begins, right? Um,
Mhm.
I would say two is really being willing to cultivate like self acceptance, or self compassion. You know,
Mhm.
this journey called life is far more difficult than any of us could even probably have imagined, right? I mean,
Right.
life is constantly throwing stuff at us. So, we're going to make good choices. We're going to make bad choices. We are going to drop the ball. But again, being forgiving of ourselves, the same type of compassion we would give to a friend of ours who's going through something, we tend to beat ourselves up and not be as forgiving of ourselves. So I would definitely say just cultivating that self compassion, being able to forgive ourselves, pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and keep it moving.
Love
Um,
that.
and then third, self care is like, such a buzzword, but it's definitely something that has to be prioritized. Um, and in whatever way the individual sees fit, right? I mean, if going to get your hair done and your nails done is your self-care, then so be it. If it's working out or getting your fruit in or having your little
Mhm.
cheat, right? I mean,
Yeah.
whatever it means for you, um, to physically and emotionally feel okay and feel better, I think that would be it. So, right, practicing self-awareness, cultivating self-compassion, and then
Mhm.
prioritizing self-care.
SCP. Love a
I
good.
love
Yep.
it.
You need to get a shirt now. Now we need a little shirt. SCP. And those are really tough things to do. But honestly, it feels
Very.
like, I mean, aside from the self care part, it's really no different than what we ask our allies to do, our
Yep.
non Black allies, right? We ask them to take a look in the mirror and be real with what they see, and be real with, like Jackie Gervin, one of my old colleagues used to say, thinking about what shows up when you show up. And so
Yeah.
an activity that I do with a lot of our non-Black allies is walking them through, who they are at their core, thinking about what is it that they care about, how do they operate, how are they responding, but what experience do you want to leave with other folks? What legacy are you leaving in essence, and
Right.
what void Do you leave when you're not in the room? And so I think those things are important for us to think about before we decide, like you said, to take on the work of advocating for others.
Yeah.
And I use the word advocate. What is the difference between allyship and advocacy?
You know, I I I don't want to say I don't like the word allyship,
Hmm.
but in my experience, I've come across a lot of people who are like, I'm an ally for this group and I'm an ally for that group. And I
Mm,
often challenge that just kind of by saying, by what? Like, what makes you an ally?
yeah,
And sometimes that response is like they're not, really expecting that question. And so
right.
I like to call it ally skills. What are the actions
Ooh, I
that
like that.
we are taking to truly be an ally for someone, right?
Jotting that down.
It's a verb, right? It's like what we are willing to actually do. Are you banking black? Are you doing actually something that's making a contribution to who you're standing with, right? It's not enough
Hmm.
just to wear the A on your chest, like, here
Yeah,
I am.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So I mean, could that also be advocacy? I mean, it could be. I think advocacy is a little bit more of the action. And I
Mhm.
think that's why we get kind of lost with out, being an ally. It's more of a title. And
Mhm.
so, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So I always just challenge people with that. What are you doing? What are the actions that you're taking to truly stand with someone?
yeah, I really like that. I mean, and let's be real, when we're usually talking about allyship or where it really stemmed from, I know when I started first hearing the word, we were really talking about white male privilege. And we were talking about how white men can either, quote unquote, we say risk their privilege, but essentially, it's not going to go away. It's not going
Right.
anywhere. But how can you, upstand in those moments and think about different ways to action what you're talking about, all these feelings that you have. There's this framework that I have for some courses, like feel, think, do. Okay, cool. You felt your feels. You've been thinking about it. You've been processing it. You've been doing the book club stuff. Now, what is the do part? So, how do you move from being absent to truly being an ally? So, when you're talking about us, I know you said those are three things that we should start thinking about, but for Black professionals, how do we go from saying that we're about this, whether it's, I can't believe they said this about her hair, or I can't believe they're quote unquote mansplaining. She already had this idea, he's over explaining. I can't believe they took her idea. And then what we usually do is form our own affinity groups, right? We go to each other, we love on each other. It's like, sis, that was real messed up. But what can we do differently and better to truly be allies in those real moments?
You know, I think that sometimes I say when we're in front of the room, whether you're in a classroom or, working with a client, people get the impression that we're perfect, and that, while we should practice everything that we preach, the reality is that we're human and we're going to make mistakes, right?
Mhm.
So um, I feel like something that we're missing in this thing called DEI or whatever you want to call it is
Mhm.
grace. I talk about
Oh,
grace a lot in classes
mhm.
nowadays because we are so quick to jump on someone and tear them apart. Oh no, they didn't. I can't believe this and all of
Mhm.
this. When if we could just pause for a second and just engage in the conversation. Hey, maybe I felt like you were mansplaining, but help me understand why you came in at that moment with that comment, right? Like,
Okay.
I think we have to do a better job of seeking to understand where people are versus attack. Because right now, I mean, just turn on the news. We are literally at war with each other in so
Mm,
many different ways. So I have made it a point in like, the classes that I've been talking about is like, can we just be a little bit more graceful with one another? Um, with our siblings, with our significant others. I mean, even
yeah.
with the people who are closest to us, and
Yes.
extend that grace in with a hunger to learn and understand where somebody else is coming from. And I think
Gotcha.
that's the key, right? I mean, I may not, I still don't have to agree with what you did or what you said, but help me understand where you are coming from, right? Um, So, I
That's fair.
mean,
No, no, no,
yeah.
that's good. No, I stopped for a moment. I took a deep breath because you're preaching to me. Because I am that person in typically whatever circle you're in, I am the challenger. I am the person that's just like, Grace, nah. Like
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
let's go for it. Let's get it. Let's, let's put excuses to the side. But I love this idea of just taking a moment to be much more curious.
Yes.
One of my mentors out there, he always says that, great leaders ask great questions. And I think that that's really important to think about as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I see that someone said, I feel like allyship is about being willing to align themselves with us and stand with us. And advocates are those willing to speak up and for us. So I could definitely see that alignment as well. And I think
Yeah.
you did a great job of explaining that as well, Chisa. Like it's more
Absolutely.
about the action.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so we're talking about, corporate spaces. We're talking about, the three things that we need to take care of, that we need to do first for ourselves. The SCP. Let me see if I remember. The self-awareness, the cultivate, what
Self
was it?
compassion,
Cultivate compassion. I can do CC.
self
Okay, good.
compassion. Yeah.
Self-compassion. And then the P was protect,
Prioritize
prioritize. There we
self
go.
care.
Tell me.
Yep. Self
Prioritize
care.
self-care.
Yep.
Okay, I'll get there. I'll get there. Excellent. So, okay, that's what we need to do for ourselves. We have an idea of how we should operate in workspaces, give each other much more grace, be much more curious. So then, where else do we take this? Like, how else is this beneficial aside from, being elbow in elbow or arm in arm with my sister or with my brother in a meeting? How else does this really show up in other parts of our lives?
I think it shows up in every single part of our
Okay.
life. I mean,
Mhm.
um, we can talk about it in a corporate setting, obviously. How are we willing to, we might not be as willing to stand with some of our coworkers as we would our children or our family members, right? So
Mhm.
I definitely think it's a conversation that needs to be had in the workplace for sure. Um, but what happens outside of the workplace? I mean, every conversation we have in regards to diversity, equity, inclusion at work should be a direct correlation between who we
Mhm.
are outside of work as well, how we treat people, our willingness to be graceful,
Yeah.
our willingness to be curious and ask more questions and seek to understand. I mean, that those things should happen at work just the same way they should happen outside of work.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's at our own dinner table with a
Mm.
significant other or a partner who might have a different view than us, right? And you
Yes.
know, so I mean, this I, in my experience teaching and being in this realm of DEI, everything I have always taught in the classroom has been a direct correlation to how we show up at work and how we show up at home. I mean, the actions, the way we stand for others, our ally
Yes.
skills. We're teaching. If you have children, you're teaching your kids that. They're watching. I mean, this is affecting future generations, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and I pray that this world
Mhm.
is better, in 15, 20 years for our kids than it is right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, I
Yes.
mean, it goes hand in hand.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think that's a real statement to make, mainly because, again, that's what we ask of others. We don't ask them to just come to work to be a good human, but we're hoping that they're going back into their communities and their homes and they're exhibiting some of these skills as well. I'm definitely going to borrow it. I will definitely give you all the credit, Chisa, but you should definitely trademark that. Chisa ally skills. I love that. So when I think about even my 20-year-old son, which I probably talk about him on every episode, but as a 20-year-old, he does not have the same struggles that I had growing up.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's
Yeah.
supposed to be, right? We
Hmm.
want
Hmm.
our ceiling to be their floor. And so as he's going through this journey and he's figuring things out, which he loves to say, and he's figuring out life, I have gone from, you need to be doing this, you need to go try this, go network with this person, go to school, go to this, instead, like today, he asked me for something. And in response, I just asked him a couple of questions. Talk to me about how, tell me how. He still
Hmm.
got the something, but we're engaging in a conversation. So I love the
Yeah.
curiosity. That's very helpful.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What what would you say is one thing that our listeners can take into their next meeting as it pertains to Black professionals being being allies of one another?
Um, I I mean, I think a big takeaway is, particularly in the workplace, is exactly kind of what you just said. I mean, the willingness to ask questions. You know, I, 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 I often say, even we could just take white males for an example. I am not a white male. I
Hmm.
will never know what it's like to be a white male
Same.
today in 2023. And I've said this before, and it rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but I'm going to say it
Hmm.
anyway.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I don't know how I would feel if I was a white male today, because white men right now are literally everybody's punching bag. Black people are mad
Yeah.
at them, Asian people, Hispanics, the good, bad, like all of it, right?
Hmm.
And we don't create spaces for them to say how they feel or any of those things. Now, typically the response that I get is, well, welcome to our world, because that's been us for, whatever. Um,
Hmm.
but but I truly believe, particularly in the workspace, that we have a responsibility um, to really hit the inclusion part of the DEI journey, right?
Hmm.
If we are excluding any demographic, we're at risk of allowing history to repeat itself. And when history repeats itself, it's going to be on our children's watch. It's not going to be us. It's going to be our children fighting these battles. It's going to be the next generations. And it's already scary out
Yeah.
there, But
Hmm.
so while I can understand how that can rub people the wrong way, at the end of the day, I, as a Black woman, do not want to become what has happened in our past. I don't want that
Yeah.
for my sons,
Right.
So I think when we are talking about engaging in these conversations in the workplace, um, it's about courageous conversations. It's about discussion. It's about really, truly seeking to understand. Because, like I said at the outset of this, I will never know what it's like to be a white guy and how it feels to be a white male in a corporate environment today.
Hmm.
But there's nothing stopping me from engaging in that conversation with you and letting you know, hey, I want you to be completely honest with me. This is your experience. I want to know more about your experience.
Mm.
Um, and again, at the end of that conversation, I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to like what you said. Like, none of that. My role is just simply to listen and take that in. And in truth, there's been so many times where we as Black people have wanted others to do the same. Listen to my
Hmm.
experience. If you've never walked in my shoes, you'll never know where I am. But I just want you to listen to my experience and maybe empathize a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's where we really have to almost start, to be honest with you. I mean, this is kind of like low hanging fruit, but
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of organizations who are just afraid to even engage in the conversation.
Yeah.
I've done work where we've talked about gun control, we've talked about Roe versus Wade, we've talked about, the LGBTQ and the trans community. I mean, we've had these conversations in the workplace and nobody threw a chair. So it's possible,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. I've said something similar, and my co-host always be like, but I'm just like, sometimes I feel bad for white men. But it's for that reason. It's mainly because no matter how, bad someone has done me, I would never want to do them that way. I would
Right.
never want to do another person that way. So if nothing else, you are practicing these ally skills, if you will, with everyone, because you want everyone to practice those ally skills with you as well. And we
Right.
only get better as an ecosystem and as a society if we all continue to increase that skill set. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. I know it's not easy. I know everyone may not agree, but if we're tight-lipped about one particular topic, then it closes the door for a lot of others. So thank you for
Absolutely.
saying that.
Not a problem.
Well, I have a couple fun questions for you. That's been some great
Okay.
information. I hope that's okay if I switch gears a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay? So I want to learn a little bit more about you, particularly because you did mention self-care. So I'm back to you. What do you do to re-energize yourself, to refuel yourself? What do you do for self-care? And those may be two separate questions as well.
Self-care for me is in the realm of kind of health and wellness. I'm now Chisa Marie Consulting. I used to be Chisa Marie Fitness. And when I say
Oh,
I used to, I got married, I had the
yes.
kids, and it's like chaos, and I
Okay.
completely lost that. And
Gotcha.
so through my journey, I realized what I really, what I needed, what made me feel good, what made me feel whole. I mean, just like you said, when you came on here, hey, this morning I worked out, like I got it in. That is what kind of feeds me and fuels me. And so I make it a priority. It is in my monthly budget, just like my mortgage and everything
Mhm.
else.
Okay. It's a
Yeah,
bill.
it is a bill, and it is. I like to work with trainers. It's going to happen. It's the accountability factor for me.
Mhm.
Um, and so, but I do. I think life changes, obviously, right? For all of us, life changes, and I think our self care is will change too, and our priorities change, and so I think that's okay. But
Mhm.
again, kind of the whole practicing self awareness is looking in the mirror and saying, what do I need? What do I need? And it might be a massage, it might be
Mhm.
meditation. There's just so many tools out there for us to feed that need. So for me, it's getting in my workout. It's not as hard as it used to be when I was in my early 30s,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
but I still get it in and I feel good.
I like that. I think that self-care for me, particularly living in Portland, Oregon, it is beautiful. The talls are so tree. Is the baby okay, Jackson? Okay. The mama in me. They call me BB, honey. I'm everybody's auntie. I can't help it. But the trees are so tall. It's beautiful. It's just great to go for a walk. There's this group, a collective, if you will. We call us ourselves Black Girls Do Things, and that's one of the things that we started doing was just hiking together and going
Yeah.
for a walk. So I think that's important. Okay, another. Well, that wasn't quite rapid fire, but just another personal question. If someone were to play you in a movie, we'll say when someone plays you in a movie, who would that actor be?
Oh
Or who
my
would you want that actor
gosh.
to be?
Um, I think maybe, oh my gosh, I don't know. I'd probably Sanaa Lathan is the first person that kind of comes to mind for me.
You're giving me Sanaa,
I
yes.
love her. She's
Mhm.
she seems kind of like laid back, and that's kind of how I am. I'm not people don't perceive me as being laid back when I'm in front of the classroom because I have to switch on, but
Yeah,
my natural personality is pretty laid back and chill. So
I like
yeah,
that.
I would be
And you have
honored.
this very sultry, raspy voice. I think that that's very in alignment and on brand. Do they say that that's your doppelganger? That she is Sanaa? That
Yeah,
sounds like.
yeah.
Okay, okay. Who do you think I get? Y'all can throw it in the comments. Who do y'all think my doppelganger is?
You know who what is her name? The Pam from
Pam,
Martin.
Pam from really?
Yeah, Pam, I get that a little
The hair.
bit.
It's the hair. It's the hair and the energy. I always get Candy Burris, and I shout out to Candy Burris because we love her bag and we love her business sense. So, shout out to those ladies. Last question before we wrap up for today. What do you like to do during the summertime?
Summertime sun. I love the sun. So getting out in the sun, whether it's hitting the beach. We moved from Colorado, which is kind of
Mhm.
landlocked, to
Yeah.
Florida. So we take full advantage of the beach and the sun and family time.
Love it. Love it. Well, hey, I'll tell you, this is one of the most engaging sessions as far as comments go. I don't know if you've had the chance to look at all the love that you're getting. They love the great points. I love that Dion says also self-aware, self-care, and self-acceptance are rarely aligned with the common leadership qualities businesses seek in job postings, leadership trainings, etc. Black professionals have to find a way to practice those skills in other forums. In addition to a check-in on how we feel, can we ask each other to affirm a strength or expertise? I love that, Dion. We're gonna have
I
to borrow
do.
that one. Can we normalize writing, asking for a recommendation on LinkedIn for a Black colleague? Those are great ways to exhibit those ally skills as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Do they
All
even
right,
still
so
do that, the recommendations on LinkedIn? Like I don't even
yeah,
see them that often. Okay,
it
yeah,
is a
that's good.
thing.
I like that.
Well, so let's exercise that. I'm gonna have to write one for you, Chisa, and I hope that you'll write
Yes,
one for me as
yes.
well. Thank you, Dion. And obviously, I guess we need to figure out how to get Dion on here. And anybody that's in the comments, if you're interested in speaking and sharing your perspective, reach out to me. I'll tell you how. The shout out for the day goes to Ray Devante of Portland, Oregon. He's an equity and inclusion strategist. He has a new book out. It's called Advocacy in Action: 9 Practical Actions for Allies in Social Justice. It's a perfect alignment with this topic. And of course, let's make sure we support that brother. Thank you, Chisa, for being here,
Absolutely.
for everything
Thank you
that
for
you had to
having me.
offer. Thank you, Jackson. And we hope to see you all next time. And every single day, 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Black Diva Collective. Thanks and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye now.